Hello, my name is John, and welcome to AP Macroeconomics. Today I wanted to go into Unit 4, which is monetary policy, and talk about some of the problems that you're likely to see on FRQs. Yeah, let's get right into it. Generally, there are two kinds of problems having to do with monetary policy that you'll see on FRQs, which this first one is if you have the problem of high unemployment, and the second one is if you have the problem of high inflation. So same problems as fiscal policy, just a different way of going about solving it, in that it's not the government doing the solving, it's the central bank. So let's go ahead and get started with this first one. So we're going to start with the problem of high unemployment. The Fire Nation is currently in a recession or facing the problem of high unemployment. They might find a creative way to say it, but it'll always be either this problem or the other problem. Identify an action that the central bank can take to address this problem, and show the effect of this action on the interest rate, real output, and the price level. So first, identify an action that the central bank could take to address this problem. So this will, in the case of, so there are three things you could do for each side. So these are, but the one that you'll always do for high unemployment is OMO buy, which is buying bonds on the open market. And what this does is it increases the money supply. This is an example of expansionary monetary policy. The other ones you can do are down discount rate and down reserve ratio RR. But you never do those. You always do this one unless they say specifically, don't do that one. The reason, there are a number of reasons. Basically, down discount rate has a negative stigma, and down reserve requirement is has unpredictable effects. OMO buy is always the way you want to go because it's predictable, it's fast, and so that's the one you want to do every time. So after that, we have to draw three graphs to show all the stuff that they want us to show. And this is the case for pretty much every monetary policy question. So you'll say OMO buy if it's expansionary, or OMO sale if it's contractionary, going the other way, as we'll see soon. But so we're going to draw three graphs to illustrate what we're talking about. So the first one is the money market. So one thing that makes the money market a little bit different is instead of making a big X like you'll do on most of your graphs, the money supply is vertical. So it looks more like this. So this is MS1, money demand 1. The horizontal axis is the quantity of money, and the vertical axis is the nominal interest rate. For money market, it's always nominal. For loanable funds market, it's always real, but that doesn't really matter for us right now. I need to know this is nominal interest rate. Okay, and then so OMO buy is expansionary. So expansionary means we're expanding the money supply. So no matter what you do, if it's OMO buy or the other two that we mentioned, I don't know why you would do those, but if you were going to do those, they would all have the exact same effect, which is increasing the money supply, moving it to the right. And now we have money supply 2. And you can see what this does. The effect, what we're trying to do here, the reason we're doing this policy is to lower the interest rate. So you can see that interest rate 1 it just decreases from I1 to I2 because of the increase in the money supply. Here you can put M1, M2, but this is the one we really want to focus on. So next we're going to, and be sure to label the graph money market. All right, so next you're going to want to have the investment market, which needs to be immediately adjacent to the money market. And the reason for this, you'll see in a moment. So the reason we are trying to change the interest rate is so that we can have an effect on investment. Because investment is a component of aggregate demand. So when we increase investment, we can increase aggregate demand, which will bring the economy back to equilibrium by increasing employment. We'll show that on the third graph, but this is the process for basically every single monetary policy question. So you can just memorize the graphs, but I'm trying to explain a little bit why we're doing these things. All right, so this is the investment market. Vertical axis is the exact same nominal interest rate. This one is quantity of investment. This one is investment demand. Basically, you just swap the M's for I's most of the time. And this one, you don't need a supply line because here's what we're going to do. So the reason we're drawing this adjacent is because we're going to show how this change over here in interest rate affects the quantity of investment demanded. Keep in mind that quantity of investment demanded is a movement along this line. A change in demand for investment would be a shift in the line. So no shift in the actual investment demand occurs, just a change in the quantity demanded. And that's what we're going to illustrate here. So we draw these lines all the way out to here. And you can write here I1, I2 again if you want. Then we show there's a decrease in in the interest rate, and that causes an increase in the quantity of investment. I1, I2. Okay, so now we have we've shown the effect on the interest rate. We've shown the effect on investment, which it didn't ask for, but we need to show. And now we have our final graph, which is going to be a normal aggregate demand, aggregate supply graph, where we show the economy coming up to equilibrium. Okay. So we're going to go back to drawing your big X. Okay. So our vertical axis is price level. Horizontal axis is real GDP, which is the same as real output, which the question asks for. This one is aggregate supply, aggregate demand, 1, 1. Okay, so right now we're here. Put Y1, PL1. Okay, so we have our increase in investment. Keep in mind that AD, aggregate demand, is equal to the sum, similar to our GDP, the sum of consumption plus investments plus government spending plus net exports. So here you can see investment is a component of AD. So this increase in AD is because we have this increase in investment on the investment market. So our AD shifts to the right. AD2. This causes an increase in real GDP, Y2, and an increase in the price level, PL2. All right, so that's all the graphs. I don't think you really need a title for this one. Sometimes I put like AD/AS. You could just put Fire Nation here, like the name of the country and the problem. Yeah, so those are our graphs. These will be the same graphs every single time, as long as you're doing expansionary policy. So these never change. So macro has a lot of that. You memorize a procedure and then just spit it out. But just to review what we did here, we increased the money. So we increased the money supply through OMO buy, which is buying government bonds on the open market. This caused a decrease in the nominal interest rate. Decrease in the interest rate causes an increase in the quantity of investment demanded. And this is because of the quantity of interest-sensitive investment demanded. The increase in investment, because investment is a direct component of AD, we saw an increase in AD that increased real output, increased the price level. Okay, so after you've drawn your graphs, all you have to do is write out that series of steps that I just said, basically. So, buy. That's our cause. Draw a box around it, makes it look pretty. Causes an increase in money supply. MS1 to MS2. Causes an increase, or a decrease, sorry, in nominal interest rate. I1 to I2. Okay, now this one is going to be, there are a couple ways you could do this. You could draw it separately. You can make a big arrow. That's what I'm going to do here. But this part, you kind of have to write a little blurb explaining what happens. But this causes an increase in I1 to I2. So what you have to put here is explain why this happens. So the decrease in I causes up big I due to what I like to say is due to the effect of down little I on quantity. This is the key part. Quantity of interest sensitive investment demanded. And that's exactly what we've shown here, right? Is that when the interest rate decreases, people are going to have less money in the bank because they're going to put it into investments because they're going to get less of a return by having it in the bank. So that causes a change in the quantity of interest-sensitive investment demanded, right? If the interest rate goes up, people are going to put more of their money in the bank, spend less of it on investment. So this is our little blurb here. You always have to write that on that step. Next, increase in AD. This one we still have to write step also, although this one is a lot simpler. This one is the same as on fiscal policy questions too. So all you have to say, I is a direct component of AD. And that's because, as we saw before, in this equation up here, I is a direct component of AD. I is, in this equation, an increase in I creates an increase in aggregate demand. So that's all that one is. And then from there, no more words, just letters. Increase in AD causes, here they ask for real output and price level. We can go ahead and just write all of them. Increase in price level, increase in RGDP, decrease in unemployment, increase in employment. That covers all your bases. You won't have to worry about missing points. And then you write PL1 to PL2, and then all of these are the same, Y1 to Y2. And that is the expansionary monetary policy question. The contractionary one, basically the same, but we're going to go through the process anyway. Just all this, but backwards. So even the causes are the same. Instead of OMO buy, down discount rate, down required reserves, it's OMO sale, and then up discount rate, up required reserves, but you always do OMO sale because it's better. It's predictable and fast. So if they ask for like, why are you doing this policy? Those are your reasons. Okay, so let's go ahead and start on this one. So like I said, pretty much all the same. OMO sale is how we're going to start. Because, let's just say they ask why. Because up discount rate has a negative stigma. And up required reserves is unpredictable. All right. So now we'll go ahead and draw our graphs again. One graph, the adjacent graph, graph further over here. Okay, so let's finally get started now that we have these baselines drawn out. So money market, here's your money supply 1, your money demand 1, quantity of money, nominal interest rate, all this the same, the graph's all the same, except now, instead of an increase in money supply as a result of OMO buy, we have a decrease in money supply due to OMO sale. We're selling bonds on the open market, decreasing the money supply to MS2. Instead of a decrease in the interest rate, we have an increase. And from there, every other step is just the inverse of what we did before. Same lines. But now investment decreases instead of increases. And that means on this graph over here, that AD decreases instead of increases to 82. Our GDP goes down, employment goes down, And what we're doing here is resolving the problem of inflation by decreasing our GDP and our price level. So where our last problem was that this was that our employment here at the bottom was too low. Now it's too high. It's above the natural rate. How this will be illustrated on a graph maybe is that you could have an LROS over here that is below this initial equilibrium point, and we're moving AD down to meet it. Same thing on the other one. You could show that there's an LROS up here, and we're bringing AD up to meet it through policy. All right, and that is about it for monetary policy. Every FRQ question basically is going to be almost exactly like this. Very rarely do they deviate from this pattern. Say almo buy or almo sale, draw the 3 graphs, and then draw this procedure and get all your points. I'm not going to go through the entire procedure for the second one because, like I said, it's the same except all these arrows are the reverse of what they were before. So thank you guys for watching. I really hope this helped. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Pretty soon I will do a video on fiscal policy, unit 3. So yeah, thank you and see you around. Good luck.